Now today we're going to explore the last 3 verses of Revelation chapter 13, which concerns the 666 mark of the beast. So the 666 mark of the beast is perhaps the most prominent feature in the book of Revelation. It is the most often talked about. Every Christian knows something about this mark of the beast, and many non-Christians also have some ideas about this mark, though not very accurate most of the time. In today's sermon, I'm going to tell you things that you may not like to hear. These are ugly truths in the Bible. Ugly in the sense that they are unwelcome, and we hope that we will never live to experience the reality of these truths in our lives. Now, these truths are about the 666 mark of the beast system of totalitarian control that will be implemented worldwide. Not just in specific regions or specific countries, but they will be implemented worldwide. Now, these truths are found in the Word of God. These truths are revealed in the Holy Scriptures. The probability is extremely high that this 666 system of the beast will be implemented in the near future. In the near future. And we may get to experience this reality in its nascent or beginning stage. So I'm making a little bit of a prediction here, all right? Not a prophecy, but a prediction here, that we may live to experience the reality of this mark of the beast in its nascent and beginning stage. Some of you might be wondering why I say that, since I'm a staunch believer of the pre-tribulation rapture position. And the 666 mark of the beast isn't mentioned until Revelation chapter 13, which talks about the events in the midpoint of the 7-year tribulation. Well, that's because I believe that the Antichrist and the false prophet will coerce the world to take the 666 mark of the beast at the midpoint of the 7-year tribulation. But that does not preclude, that does not mean that it is introduced at that time. Very probably, very possibly, it will be introduced earlier. Probably even before the tribulation begins. That is, before the rapture takes place. And therefore, we may get to see, we may get to experience the beginning of the introduction of this 666 mark of the beast system in the world. Frankly, I do not like to talk about this topic. You'll know why as I go deeper later, as I give you more detail later. You realize that this is going to be so far-reaching, it is going to be so dystopian, it is going to be so challenging when it is implemented, especially for us who will not want to take the mark on our body. I prefer not to talk about it, but I can't. Okay, I can't. Seeing what I'm seeing and knowing what I know, I will be an irresponsible pastor if I don't talk about it. The signs of an emerging one-world government and the coming of the Antichrist are all over the place, and they are converging, and they are very convincing. Sometimes I hope that I am wrong, but I'm very certain that I am quite correct, or I'm very correct. Some of you might say, but Pastor, how come so few pastors in Singapore are talking about it? Okay, how come so few pastors are talking about the end time? In fact, I hardly hear any pastors in Singapore talking about this topic. I know, I'm puzzled myself. But just like I say, there are so many indisputable signs pointing to the imminent return of our Lord Jesus Christ. A conversation between Jesus and the Sadducees and the Pharisees comes to mind. These religious leaders were asking Jesus for a sign to prove that he was the Messiah. So Jesus answered them in this way. So we look at Matthew 16, verses 2 and 3. When it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red, and in the morning it will be stormy today, for the sky is red and threatening. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the times. Jesus rebuked them because they could not prophetically understand the times and the seasons. They could not prophetically understand the season that they were in. These religious leaders failed to discern Jesus' first coming. And it appears to me that history will repeat itself. Many church leaders are failing to discern Jesus' second coming. The implications are staggering. Now, there are more signs in the Bible for Jesus' second coming than for the first coming. Therefore, there is no excuse for believers, especially for Christian leaders, to be missing these signs. Christian pastors and leaders will be held accountable for their failure to discern the times and the seasons of Christ's return. So today we're going to look at two passages that provide details of the 666 mark of the beast. So first, let's look at Revelation chapter 13 and verses 16 to 18. Also, it causes awe, talking about a false prophet, it causes awe, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. The next passage is in Revelation chapter 14, and we're going to read verses 9 to 12. And another angel, a third, followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he also will drink the wine of God's wrath, poured full strength into the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night. These worshippers of the beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of his name. Here is a call for the endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and their faith in Jesus. Now, in today's sermon, I'm going to consider three things concerning the mark of the beast. Three things concerning the 666 mark. First is the call to calculate the number of the beast. Second, the mark itself. The mark of the beast, what is it? What exactly is the mark of the beast? Third, the consequences or the consequence of taking the mark of the beast. So first, I want to consider the call to calculate the number of the beast. And let's look at verses 17 and 18 again. No one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now, this is a call to consider the mystery of the 666 mark of the beast. Christians are called to calculate the number of the beast. Christians are called to calculate the number of the beast. Now, the Greek word for calculate can also means to count, to figure out. So may I be bold enough to suggest or to say that this is a call to speculate about the 666 mark of the beast. It's a call to speculate about the mark of the beast. Now, I know Christians are weary of speculation. When we talk about speculation, we are like, we don't speculate anything concerning the truth of God. But very clearly, here we are talking about the call to calculate, the call to speculate. Okay? We don't have to worry too much about that, because to speculate simply means to form a theory or a conjecture about a subject without complete evidence. And many a times we do that even when we deal with science. A lot of it is with theory, and therefore they do experiment to ascertain the theory, to prove that the theory is correct. Okay? So please understand that in the study of eschatology, that is things pertaining to the last days, there is often the element of speculation. There is often the element of speculation in the study of eschatology. However, that doesn't mean that we have the license to speculate wildly without any basis, scriptural or otherwise. That would be simplistic and irresponsible. We are clearly told to consider the matter wisely and with understanding. That is, to understand what the scriptures say, and then with wisdom, connect the dots to the current trends and developments and events in the relevant fields. Now, this should put to rest the nice-sounding argument that Christians shouldn't speculate at all. That Christians shouldn't be caught up with the mysterious and puzzling passages in the book of Daniel and in the book of Revelation, because we cannot properly understand them. And even if we understand them, these are merely speculations. That means at best, they are speculative. Now, if that is the case, why does God give us so many prophecies concerning the end time? If that is the case, why does God in this passage in Revelation 13 call us to calculate the number of the beast? God didn't tell us directly what that name of the beast is or what the number is, but He say that with wisdom and with understanding, calculate, figure out, count the number of the name of the beast. This is a core of the scripture here in Revelation chapter 13. Now, Proverbs chapter 25 verse 2. It is the glory of God to conceal things, but the glory of kings to search out things. God chooses to conceal certain things, and He will reveal these things only to those who seek Him out earnestly and diligently search for these truths. Jesus said this was the reason that He spoke in parables. And as you know, parables conceal the truth. Parables are easy to understand as a story, but the truths are concealed. Okay? The truths are concealed. That's why there are many wrong interpretations of the parables. Okay? The purpose, God's purpose, is to conceal truths concerning the secrets of the kingdom from non-seekers, and to reveal them only to those who truly seek Him, to those who are truly desirous of the truth. Now let's consider the number of the mark of the beast. We are told in verse 17 two things about the mark. First, it is the name. The mark is the name of the beast. In other words, the mark is the name of the Antichrist. Second, it is the number of its name. It is the number of the name of the Antichrist. Now, most of us in our present day and time are unfamiliar with the idea of a number associated with a name. In olden days, a number is assigned to every alphabet in the Hebrew and Greek language. So if you add up the numbers of the alphabets of a name, the total number is the total number is the number of the name. So let me use the English language as an example to illustrate. Say the alphabet assigned to A is the number 1, and the alphabet B is assigned the number 2, and C 3, and so on and so forth. And say my name is ABC, all right? If my name is ABC, then the number of my name will be 1 plus 2 plus 3, which equals to 6. That will be the number of my name. So if my name, if my name is ABC, C, BD, and ABC, okay? Okay, it doesn't work that way. So anyway, ABC, it will be 6, all right? So this practice is known as gematria. So all the alphabets of the Antichrist name will add up to 666. It will add up to 666 when his name is translated to the Greek language. The New Testament is written in Greek, and therefore, I think the reference point must be the Greek language. That's what scholars agree upon. Now, people who use this method, there are people who use this method and say that the Roman Emperor Nero is the Antichrist. The preterists, that means people who believe that the book of Revelation is not not referring to future events, rather they are referring to something in the past, something that happens in AD 70. Okay, they are basically saying that the Antichrist has already appeared because the Emperor Nero, the Roman Emperor Nero, is the beast. Okay, they add up his name and they say that he's the 666, he's the 666. Some others say that Napoleon, Stalin, and Hitler are the beasts. That means they are the Antichrist. Okay, and oftentimes the method that people employ are rather convoluted and very contrived. By that I mean that they will find ways and means to force the numbers to add up to 666. They will force it. So we take the example of Nero, all right? Nero, of course, his name is not just Nero, Nero something, something, right? His name doesn't add up to 666. But they come up with a clever way of doing it. They add the word Caesar there and convert it to Greek, and then they say everything adds up to 666. Now, whatever it is, all these exercises are futile because the Antichrist is a man in the future. The Antichrist is a man that will come in the future, in the near future, I believe. The number of his name, when translated to Greek, will add up to 666. Now, I also believe that the mark is more than just a name or a number. There is no way that the Antichrist can control the nations of the world and all the billions of people with just a mark or the number of his name. I believe that this 666 number also serves as an access code or a permission code to connect between the biodigital mark on people's right hand and a central financial and banking computer system. More about that later. I'll give more details about that later. I'm going to build up my case slowly. Next, we want to explore the 666 mark of the beast in greater detail. What is it exactly? What exactly is the mark of the beast? So we look again at Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 17. Also it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. First, the 666 mark of the beast is a mark of allegiance to the Antichrist. The 666 mark of the beast is a mark of allegiance to the Antichrist. Satan is a copycat. He's the biggest copycat. He imitates God. Okay, I want you to know that Satan is not original in his idea of marking his followers. During the prophet Ezekiel's time, God marked his faithful saints on the foreheads just before he sends judgment on the southern kingdom of Judah. After that, God instructed an angel to carry out a killing spree in the city of Jerusalem. Many people were killed. In fact, all that remains in Jerusalem were killed except those with the mark of God on their foreheads. The same thing will happen during the tribulation, before the seals of judgment are opened. God will seal the 144,000 witnesses on their foreheads for protection. After that, the wrath of God will be released and the judgments of God will be unleashed. There will be a carnage, but the 144,000 will be protected. They will not be affected in any way. So the mark, God uses a mark on the forehead of his saints as a sign of protection, so that the death angel will not be able to touch them or to kill them. Satan will imitate God in sealing his followers. He will get his sidekick, the false prophet, to coerce people to be marked on the right hand or on the forehead. Not just the forehead, it can be the forehead, it can also be on the right hand. All the followers of the Antichrist and those who reject our Lord Jesus Christ will receive the mark. They will receive the mark. The mark identify these people as belonging to the Antichrist. It is no difference from the branding of cattle. You see, while the mark that God puts on his saint is spiritual and invisible, you don't get a physical mark. God doesn't put a physical mark on his saints. But in the case of the Antichrist and Satan, the mark is actually a physical mark. It is not an invisible mark. It is a physical mark. So first, the mark of the beast is a mark of allegiance. Second, the 666 mark is a symbol of the global financial and banking system. It is a representation of the international trade and economic system. I mentioned earlier that the mark is more than just a marking or a tattoo on the forehead or on the right hands of people. The reason is simple. You cannot control, okay? You cannot control billions of people. You cannot control 200 over nations with just a mark or tattoo. It is impossible, all right? It is impossible to do that. We understand from verse 17 that no one can buy or sell without the mark. Now, buying and selling here does not just refer to purchases over the counter or brick and mortar stores or online for consumer goods. It refers to all sorts of financial transactions, ranging from small purchases to multi-million-dollar business deals, investments, and banking transactions. So the 666 mark clearly refers to a global financial and banking system. All right, it is global in nature. It is global in nature. So first, the mark, the 666 mark is a mark of allegiance. Number two, it is a global financial and banking system. Number three, it is a totalitarian system of control. The mark of the beast is a totalitarian system of control. Now, I use the word totalitarian very often during the Revelation sermon series. I believe that many of you understand what it is, but just to make sure, okay, that everybody understand. Totalitarianism is a system of government that is centralized and dictatorial and requires complete subservience to the state. That means it requires the total submission of the nations and the people to that central control. The Antichrist seeks not just a total control of the entire world, but a totalitarian control of the world. His one-world government will not tolerate any dissent from the nations or the peoples. With so many nations and billions of people, it is impossible to control the world politically. It is also impossible to control the world militarily. Why? Because it will be very expensive. And you just need to think about it. It is impossible. It is just impossible to do that. The best and the most effective way to control the entire world is through the international financial and banking system. Perhaps it is the only way. And this is exactly what the Antichrist will do. Through the global financial and banking system, the Antichrist will control all buying and selling. The Antichrist will control all monetary flow. Through the international financial and banking system, the Antichrist will control all investment activities. He will control all business activities. Essentially, he will control the global trade and economy. He will control the global trade and economy. Through the international financial and banking system, the Antichrist will have an ironclad control over the entire world. Any nations that gets out of line with him, he will pull them off. He will pull these nations off the system. Just with a snap of his finger. It is as easy as that. Any individual that does not have the mark of the beast or say anything or do anything against the Antichrist New World Order will be cut off from the system. His bank account will be suspended. His ability to do financial transactions will be affected, will be restricted or even terminated. Essentially, his ability to function in society will be curbed. His ability to function in society will be curbed. And that is why almost all people, both rich and great, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, will be coerced into taking the mark of the beast. We get a sense of the power of the global financial and banking system recently. Okay, we get a sense of it recently. When Russia invaded Ukraine in February last year, the US and the West, which control the global financial and banking system, put a series of sanctions on Russia. Okay, some of these sanctions include freezing the foreign reserve of the Russian central bank, which amounted to $630 billion, cutting off major Russian banks from SWIFT, which is the global messaging network for international payment, and targeting wealthy Russian individuals, businesses, monetary exchange, and exports. Now, these are just a few examples. Russia and the Russian economy would have collapsed if not for the West's dependence on its oil and gas. And then Russia also manages to sell their oil at a cheaper price to large nations like China and India. Okay, the West can call for the sanctions and all that, but large nations can ignore that. But a small nation, smaller nations will not be able to ignore that because the West may levy sanctions on these countries. So many countries, many of these other countries, look at what the West is doing to Russia and they don't like what they see. Contrary to popular opinion, they don't like what they see. They know that they can be the victims in the future if they do anything that incur the displeasure of the US and its allies. That is the reason the world order is undergoing a major shift now. Are you aware that the global order is undergoing a major shift right now? Okay, if you are not, I'm sorry to say it, all right, you're slipping. The global order is shifting right in our watch at the present time. Many large and populous nations are attempting to break away from the existing US dollar system and to forge an alternative financial and banking system. Granted, it will take many years for that to happen, but the attempt is already underway. The process has already begun sometime in 2022. It begins with the BRICS nation, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, with China leading the way. Presently, as many as 20 countries are applying to join the BRICS grouping and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SOC. Now, I'm saying all this to make the point that the global financial and banking system is extremely powerful. It is extremely powerful. You don't need to go to war with guns, with tanks, with aeroplane. You can go to war using economic sanction. If you are controlling the global internet, the global financial and banking system, it is as powerful, if not more powerful than military might. In my opinion, it is more powerful. So this is what the 666 mark of the beast is all about. The Antichrist and the one world government which will rise from the West. Remember the revived Roman Empire? It will use the global financial and banking system to control the nations of the world and people. The present international financial and banking system has served the world well in the last 7 to 8 decades. Generally, it is fair and efficient, though it breaks down occasionally, like in 2008, it breaks down. But in the hands of the Antichrist, it will be a hell of a totalitarian system of control. The Antichrist will use it to put a stranglehold over the nations and people. For sure, there will be nations that are displeased with the 666 beast system. And these countries will fight against the Antichrist hegemony. They will fight against the one world government's leadership and dominance of the financial and banking system. How do I know that? Is it a speculation based on what is currently transpiring? No, the Bible tells us about that. In Daniel chapter 11, we are told about the king of the east and the king of the west. In Revelation as well, we are told about the king of the east rising up against the Antichrist, fighting the Antichrist. These are the countries, all right, China and Russia. China is the king of the east and Russia is the king of the north. This country will resist the Antichrist during the 7-year tribulation. Actually, at the present time, they are already resisting the West. Okay? This is where the one world government and the Antichrist will rise. Okay? We are seeing something like that playing out right before our eyes right now. What does it tell us? The chess pieces, the geopolitical chess pieces, the economic war, the trade war, the financial war are taking place right before our eyes. These things are happening right before our eyes, meaning to say that we are so close. We are so close to the end of the present age. This is one of those signs, okay? This is one of those very important signs that we are standing right at the end of this present age. Now, though I don't have much time left for the sermon, I must make this important point. The 666 mark of the beast, totalitarian control system, will have several component parts. It doesn't just stand alone. It has several component parts that morph into it, that are integrated into it, so that it is a system. It is a total system, all right? A totalitarian system. Each component part by itself is a control mechanism. Okay, there are a number of them, but I have only time to talk briefly and broadly about 3 of these control mechanisms. The first is the ESG matrix. Some of us may not be familiar. Some of us are beginning to be clued in to the ESG matrix. E stands for environmental, S stands for social, and G stands for governance. The ESG matrix is a scoring system to measure how well a company assesses risk with respect to the environmental, social, and governance issues in their day-to-day work and operations. The ESG matrix will also be applied to individuals. Okay, it will also be applied to individuals. Already, MasterCard and a few of these credit and debit cards have carbon trackers. If you open up some of your bank apps, they already are beginning to put in carbon trackers. All this got to do with the ESG matrix system. The environmental issue relates directly, mostly, to the global warming and the climate change agenda, which is bogus as far as I am concerned. The whole global warming fuss is nothing but another woke agenda to control the nations and the peoples of the world. In the name of carbon and nitrogen emissions, the global elites and the global organizations are imposing ridiculous policies to curb, to control food and energy supplies. More such policies will be imposed in the future. Okay, I'm just giving you some of the headline and broad ideas. Okay, go and read up, go and find out, and you will understand in detail what I'm saying here. The social issues have to do with sexuality, gender equality, race, equity, and many other woke agenda. So if I am not a pro-LGBT, then my S or the social score will be low. ESG, the S, the social score will be low. Okay? So as you can see, the ESG metrics function in quite the same manner as the China's social credit system. I think more people are you are aware of the China social credit system. Okay, it is a system where data of your public and online behavior will be collected and scored. If your social credit score is good, is high, you will enjoy benefits such as tax incentives, financial credits, and allocation to better schools, so on and so forth. If your social credit score is low, you'll be penalized. In other words, you have to play by the rules set by whoever is in charge. You have to play by the rules of the system. You have to play by the rule of the metrics. That's how a totalitarian or the emerging totalitarian regime will control nations and peoples through the ESG metrics. Okay, China is a world by itself. China is a thing by itself. But I'm interested in what is happening in the West, because this is where the one world government will rise based on the scripture. Okay, the revived Roman Empire. Okay, I'm just using the China social credit system to give you an example of how the ESG matrix scoring system will work. So my example that I've just given, applies to individuals. The same will apply to companies, to banks, to corporations, to government organizations, so on and so forth. The ESG scoring system works in exactly the same way, except that the basis of evaluation are different. Okay, they are based on the environment, they are based on social factors, and they are based on governance issues. Question, all right, question. How will the ESG system be introduced? Okay, how will it be implemented rather and enforced? How will the ESG control system be implemented and enforced? It will be implemented and enforced through the global financial and banking system. I believe that I have reasons to believe, all right, many good reasons to believe that the ESG infrastructure in the international banking system is more or less in place. It is a matter of when the global elites want to implement it. The timing is in their hand. It is a matter of when they want to implement it. The infrastructure is more or less already in place. The biggest asset managers, such as BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, have been pushing their clients to comply with the ESG marks. Now, these are very powerful fund managers or asset managers, very, very powerful. Their clients include international banks, big investment houses, transnational companies, sovereign wealth funds, and countries, governments, countries. Just to give you a sense of the size of these three asset managers that I've just listed, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. It is over, the asset under management is over 20 trillion US dollar, which is bigger than the GDP of the United States of America. That's how powerful and influential they are. And in the hands of the global elites, of course they belong to the global elites in one way or another, they are getting all the corporations, all the organizations, even countries to align to the ESG metrics. So that is the first component, the ESG, the first component of the 666 system of totalitarian control. The second component of the 666 mark of the beast totalitarian control system will be the CBDC, the central bank digital currency. That will be another integral component in the 666 system. Recently, I wrote a pastoral reflection on CBDC. It is also available in the video format. Check it out. Go look, okay, take a look at it, take a listen at it, or read through the article to find out more about CBDC, because it is important that you understand it. CBDCs will bring many benefits, such as convenience and ease of transaction. It is also safe and efficient. But there are implications that we should be concerned. CBDCs are programmable. CBDCs are programmable, meaning to say that the government can control how you spend your money. Okay? The government can control all your buying and selling. Now, in the hands of benevolent government, fine, we have nothing to worry. But in the hands of a tyrannical government like the Antichrist One World government, CBDC can easily be turned into a tool of totalitarian control. Okay, as I think many of you are aware, the governments around the world are now furiously working to come up with their own CBDCs. Every government, they are trying very, very hard to come up with their own digital currency. Soon, there will be a one world CBDC. In years past, people like to talk about one world currency. Okay? And this will be the new one world currency. It will be in the form of a central bank digital currency. So very soon, the world will have a central CBDC, a one world CBDC, which will be a central feature of the 666 mark of the beast financial and banking system. Politically, another component of the 666 mark of the beast totalitarian control system will be the vaccination passport. The vaccination passport. I can understand why vaccination passports are important. Okay, it is used to control the spread of diseases, viruses, bacteria, and so on. So it is, in a sense, important. But again, let me say this. In the hands of a dictatorial regime, like the Antichrist regime, the vaccination passport can be used as a tool for totalitarian control purposes. Do you know that Hitler used public health as a tool of totalitarian control? Many people don't know. When we talk about Hitler, we only know about him killing 6 million Jews. But it doesn't get there immediately. There were a process of things happening, building up in the 1920s, all the way to 1930s before he started killing the Jews at the end of 1930s until the midpoint of 1940, until the midpoint of the 1940s. And one of the instruments, one of the tools he used is public health. Public health. So be very wary about that. And that's what Hitler used, and that's what the one world government will do. And we are quickly moving in that direction. We are quickly moving in that direction. With the details of the pandemic treaties already agreed, the World Health Organization will soon have the power to control all pandemic-related matters in individual sovereign nations. Once the treaty is being signed, which I think will take place by this year, by 2023, individual countries will give up their sovereign rights whenever there's a pandemic happening. And one global body will be taking charge, will be taking care, will be barking instructions as to what these countries can do. You must do this, you must shut down your economy, you must take only this vaccine and that vaccine and not the other one that is available. They will be controlling all these decisions. And my point is this: it is very dangerous that a global body have such power over individual sovereign states. It is unprecedented. And the reason we are seeing all this is, okay, like what I say, it's meant for good reason, all right? But gradually we are moving towards a dictatorial system of the one world government and the Antichrist regime. And so this whole thing, this whole developing scenario is frightening. The vaccination passport or some kind of passport will be morphed, will be integrated into the international financial and banking system. If you don't comply, your ability to buy and sell will be taken away from you. It will be shut down. Now I'm saying all this for obvious reason, and also to tell you that we are quickly moving towards the 666 mark of the beast system. Okay, we are quickly moving there. Finally, I want to talk about the consequences, or rather the consequence of taking on the mark of the beast. What is the consequence of taking the mark of the beast? We look at verses 9 to 12 in Revelation 14 again. And another angel, a third angel, followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he also will drink of the wine of God's wrath, pour full strength into the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever. That means everlasting condemnation and punishment. And they have no rest day and night. These worshippers of the beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of its name. Wow. This is very serious. Anybody that takes the mark of the beast, the consequence is a serious one. The consequence is clearly stated here. If anyone receives the mark of the beast, he will be thrown into hell. There's a description of hell there, the lake of fire. He cannot be saved. Bottom line. Or what this passage is saying is that they cannot be saved. So for a non-Christian, he cannot be saved. For a Christian, or rather for a believer at that time who takes the mark of the beast, he will lose his salvation. It doesn't matter if you confess Christ. He will lose his salvation. And I think the passage is very clear. There's no other way to understand this passage. Question. I've been asked this question a couple of times. Why is God so harsh? Why is God so harsh? Because by taking the 666 mark of the beast, these people are pledging their allegiance to the Antichrist, and hence the devil. But you ask a second question. What if that person repents after taking the mark? After have taken the mark, he repents. Can the mark be removed? Take an eraser and erase it. Can the mark be removed? Can he still be saved? Now let me say this, and I want to say it very, very carefully. It seems that he cannot reverse his decision. Reading the passage, it seems that he cannot reverse his decision. Once he receives the mark, it cannot be removed. The person is marked for life. He's condemned forever. That seems to be the implication in this passage in Revelation chapter 14. Why? Why? Here is a plausible explanation. Because the mark, can we put it up? Because the 666 mark is an irreversible mark. It is irreversible because the mark affects the biology of his body irreversibly. His DNA structure is altered. Genetically speaking, he's no longer a human being. Hence, he cannot be saved. This is the short answer. Okay, and I know many of you will be, wow, Pastor, it's very challenging to even think about what you are saying. And I know this sounds very bizarre, so let me explain it in greater detail. In his book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, Klaus Schwab, who is the founder and chairman of WEF, the World Economic Forum, said repeatedly that the Fourth Industrial Revolution will lead to a fusion of our physical, digital, and biological identities. Okay? It will lead to a fusion of our physical, digital, and biological identities. Now, put it this way. It's not just what the man say. The man is very influential. Okay? He's a spokesman for the globalists. The WEF is the coordinating body for a lot of global institutions and so on. And this is what scientists are now saying. This is what political leaders in the West are now saying. Okay, I'm just using Klaus Schwab as an example, okay, because he's an influential man. And the World Economic Forum website also discusses a future where electronic implant could become a relatively normal part of human lives. And let me add from all my reading and research, let me add that biotechnological tweaking and wholesale changes to the human DNA could become the new normal. Could become the new normal. We are entering an era of biotechnological revolution. Not just a digital AI revolution, but a biotechnological revolution. Have you heard of the CRISPR? Have you heard of the CRISPR? Not CRISPR the ghost, huh? Okay, not CRISPR the ghost. Okay, those who laugh are those that are older. CRISPR is the acronym of a gene editing tool that enables geneticists and medical researchers to edit human genomes by removing, adding, and altering sections of the DNA sequence. It is currently the simplest, most versatile, and precise method of genetic manipulation. Understandably, it is causing a buzz in the science world. The rapid development of digital technology and biotechnology has now brought the world into a bio-digital convergence. You'll get to hear the word from the media more and more often, bio-digital convergence. Moderna's CEO told MIT Sloan, this university in a talk, we call mRNA the software of life. You can copy and paste the information into a lot of drugs by using the same technology. In the spirit of bio-digital convergence, Moderna has trademarked the name mRNA OS, as in mRNA operating system. And then back in 2017, the chief medical officer of Moderna, all right, he explained this approach to his tech audience. In a tech talk, he said this. It's just an extract, all right, a bit of it. We have been living in this phenomenal digital and scientific revolution. And I'm here to tell you that we are actually hacking the software of life. This symbiosis, all right, this interaction of biology and digital technology in the human body not only raises ethical questions, but also theological questions of critical importance. It has salvific and hence eternal implications, which Christians can you afford to ignore. So, after saying all this, we've got to ask ourselves a question. And the pertinent question is if the human DNA is altered, are humans still human? If the human DNA is altered, are humans still human? And a follow-up question will be, what extent of DNA changes will render a human no longer human? The reason I have the second question there is because certain change may not fundamentally change your biology, all right, your makeup, your genetic makeup. I don't know too much about that. But what extent of DNA changes in a person's body will render him to become a non-human? In other words, the person now becomes a cyborg. Actually, more than a cyborg. He's a biologically altered hybrid with AI capability. If that is the case, is he still a human being? Is he still a human being? Now, I ask all these questions with Genesis chapter 6 in mind. I don't like pure speculation. I don't like wild speculation, rather. I ask all these questions. I've been asking this question in the last 2 years. And I ask this question with Genesis chapter 6 in mind. Let's read verses 1 to 4 of Genesis 6. When men began to multiply on the face of the land and daughters were born to them, the sons of God, everybody say sons of God. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were attractive, and they took as their wives any they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. So why did God say that their days, the days of the people at that time are 120, meaning to say that after 120 years, he's going to shut off the world. He's going to destroy humanity. Why did God say that? And the reason is because of the Nephilim. The reason is because of the Nephilim, the giants. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterwards, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. Now, immediately after these first 4 verses in Genesis chapter 6, we have the story of the flood. We have the story of the flood. There is an obvious connection. There is an obvious link between the story of the Nephilim and the story of the flood. They are one story. You don't read them separately. They are one story. All right? They are one story. God sent the flood to destroy the human race because it has been genetically corrupted. God sent the flood to destroy the whole world and destroy humanity at that time because it has been genetically contaminated. Because the human DNA has been altered by the intermarriage of these divine entities, the sons of God and the daughters of men. Those kind details are given. The passage is clear. The sons of God, these are divine entities. Okay, meaning these are angelic entities. They mated with human women and they give birth to the Nephilims. In some translation, they put it as giants because they are big. Goliath is a Nephilim. Okay, they are the These Nephilims are not pure humans. They are biological hybrids. They are biological hybrids. God had never intended for this hybrid to exist. It was an abomination to him. It was detestable to him. The Nephilim was created as a result of the blatant disobedience of the rebellious sons of God. Okay, I've gone through in other sermons to tell you that there are 3 rebellions in the first 11 chapters of Genesis. Adam and Eve rebellion against God, we all know that. And then there is this Genesis chapter 6 rebellion. And then there's a third one, the Tower of Babel, when Nimrod, the Nephilim, led mankind to rebel against God, basically telling God, we don't want you to rule over us. You are wicked, you send the flood. We want to look for the other gods to rule over us. 3 rebellions in the book of Genesis, rather in the first 11 chapters of the book of Genesis. Now let's get this point straight. God destroyed the antediluvian world, the pre-flood world, for one reason. I know sin is involved, but the bigger reason is because of the contamination of the human DNA. Okay. So he destroyed humanity except for Noah and his family because the human DNA was contaminated. God won't accept these human biological hybrids then during Noah's time, and God will also not accept them in the present time. God did not accept the biological hybrids of the Nephilim during Noah's time. 2,400 years ago, thereabout, God will also not accept biological hybrid in this present age and time because it is not part of his creation order. It is not his will. His response at that time was to destroy humanity except for one family, Noah and his family. And in the same way, all right, in the same way, he will destroy modern biological hybrids, as we read in Revelation chapter 14. They will be sent into the lake of fire. They will be tormented forever and ever. Question, can this be the reason why anyone with the 666 mark of the beast cannot be saved? Can this be the reason? Can this be the reason? You know, in the last few decades, many Christians believe that the 666 mark of the beast is a microchip implanted in the right hand or on the forehead. With technology advancing rapidly, the possibilities have increased. It may be some new technologies. It may be some new technology beyond microchip. Maybe some new technologies, for example, like quantum dots. The quantum dot technology, which can be used for DNA barcoding, bioimaging, and the bio-tracking of humans. Now, personally, I believe that the 666 mark of the beast will be a fusion of digital technology and biotechnology. The human body will be turned into a bio device, and the 666 mark will act as a transponder. That means a transmitter and a responder and a receiver. All right, the transponder is a wireless communication, monitoring, and control device. So the 666 mark is not just a mark of allegiance. It is a digital cum biological device embedded, or it just could be a circuitry imprinted through quantum dot, all right, on the inner layer of the skin, on the right hand, or on the forehead. And that is why, with the 666 mark of the beast, anyone with the 666 mark of the beast cannot be saved. Shall we all stand?